All right, here we go. Welcome to this edition of the Baseball Forward podcast, a movement committed to passing the beautiful game of baseball on to the next generation of ball players and coaches. I'm your host, Ross Hawley, and I want to thank you for spending some time with us, wherever you might be watching or listening from. If this is your first time with us, welcome. For exclusive video clips and outtakes of this and all the other episodes of the Baseball Forward podcast, go give us a follow on social media at BaseballFWD or at Ross Hawley 39. And for more information on joining the Baseball Forward movement, visit us on the World Wide Web at baseballforward.com. The Baseball Forward podcast is brought to you by Southpaw Hat Company. Don't let the name fool you. Southpaw hats are designed for everyone, not just you funky lefties out there. Check out our latest and greatest. Check out their latest and greatest at southpawhatco.com and enter BallFWD at checkout for 10% off your entire order. Now, on to today's episode and guest, a former teammate of mine in the Dodgers organization and one of my very good buddies, Mr. Kole Strayhorn returns. Here's episode 27 of the Baseball Forward podcast. Kole Strayhorn.
What's going on, buddy?
Welcome back, my friend. How are you today?
It's good to be back. I'm doing great. Yourself?
Man, I'm doing really well. Cole. I was telling you offline how stinking popular you were the first episode that you did with us. And I want to say you were like on episode 5. But, dude, I want you to know this. I got so much feedback. Like I got DMs. I got text messages. Who is that dude, man? Where is he at? Where does he live? Who does he coach with? All this. So I wanted to let you know that energy that you bring and that love that you have for the game of baseball, dude, it is contagious and infectious, and people noticed it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes, sir. We had such a good conversation the last time, and I know for those of you guys listening to the Baseball Forward podcast, Kole Strayhorn is a teammate of mine, former 4th rounder by the Los Angeles Dodgers. Guys, he was the real deal. He was the guy that everybody wanted to be, and man, as good of a player as he was, he's just a good human being. And I'll say this, Kole, I gotta say this, dude. We gotta start with this. What this guy does for a living. If you're listening to this, you're going to have to give me more information on this, Kole. But what you do for a living is like straight out of the movie Yellowstone, dude. Like this guy's training horses. You know, like the stuff where, I mean, I remember watching a Yellowstone episode about like a year ago, and they were cutting horses. They were teaching them how to stop and go. It was mind blowing. And I'm like, I have started watching all of Kole's videos, and I'm like, this is Kole Strayhorn as Kevin Costner. Kole, talk to me about what you're doing right now. I want to know more about like the horse stuff and what you're doing right now.
Yeah, so it was when I was playing, right? I got into that and spent a little money on some horses. I fell in love with. Wow. I never even had anything to do with horses growing up. I mean, that was like crazy, and I got it in my blood, and man, I invested in some of it, and then when all the surgeries happened and my career was over, it was like, man, I got to learn how to train these things or I'm going to lose all my money. So, man, I started watching videos. I taught myself how to train, and then I actually got to work with the greatest of all time, Lloyd Cox. I worked for him for 4 years, and now I'm out on my own. I train horses. I give pitching lessons. It's pretty cool.
Man, like that is so cool, because I do remember you talking about horses and stuff. So it's like, okay, the videos that I watched, Kole, I mean, we're talking, these are my observations. I feel like you have got to be one with this horse.
Absolutely.
The moves that the horses are doing, what you're commanding the horse to do. I want to know more about that. Like, how in the world does it get like that?
Well, they're bred for that. I mean, they are bred for that specific purpose, to have cow, and then you got to learn how to teach them how to think, and then how to think on their own. I mean, you have to be. It's a 2-year process before they show. So, and I just work with the young ones. I like to be the first one that ever rides them. So I break them. So it was just a passion that after baseball, it's kind of that same thing. You never get perfect, but you're always striving for perfect, just like on the baseball field. So it really took place in my heart right after baseball was over. It was just natural for me, because I mean, you work all day for this thing that's in your mind, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't, but it's a challenge that every day is different. Every there's a new challenge. So it I was captivated by it. I'm obsessed with it, and like I said, it is so much like baseball. It's crazy.
You have to tell me. So, like, is your wife involved with it too?
Oh yeah, yeah. My wife helps me all the time. Like, I mean, she has her own job, but man, she can ride the 2-year-olds too. Like, I mean, like, we'll be the first to ever put a saddle on them. So, like, she
Dang.
helps me in there. I couldn't do it without her. Like,
What
she's amazing.
what is man? Because the word I would use is just like it's captivating. What's the most satisfying thing out of working with horses like the way you do?
Oh, when they get it, it's
Ah,
when you have that great one, and I've had a couple great ones that were unbelievable, and it's like throwing a perfect game. Like
mm,
that day was just perfect. They, like my saying is, they don't grow those kind of horses on trees. I mean,
wow.
but you're just striving for that horse to completely understand what you want and what his job is, and to be one together.
You feel like when you say you have that horse, that it, because I'm trying to think of baseball. Like we know, like when we see a baseball player, man, that sounds different off
Oh
his
yeah,
bat, or that
you
sounds.
know it.
Is that what it is? Is that what it
You
is?
know it.
What
You know it.
like
Like,
how? How do you know?
it's the feel. Like, I mean, dude, when they turn, you can hear the wind off of them. They're so quick. It's just, whoop, and they're so smart, and they're so cowy. I mean, it's no different than looking at a guy throwing 100. You're like, that kid's got a big arm. Like, this
Yeah.
horse is so talented. Like, it's cool. It's a cool deal.
Okay, so before we move on, I got to, for anybody that's listening out there, they've got to see what this is all about with you, Kole Strayhorn. So Kole Strayhorn. So like the name of your business is
Strayhorn performance horses.
Strayhorn Performance
Yep.
horses. And if somebody wants to find you, how would they find you and look you up
On
for business?
Facebook.
Okay,
Facebook. Yep.
guys, Strayhorn Performance horses. It's just fun watching the videos, for crying out loud. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm like,
it's fun. It's a
dude,
lot of fun. It's a lot of hard work. It's just like baseball though. You work your butt off all day long. I
yeah.
mean, it's so close to the same thing as coaching or playing. I think that's why I fell in love with it so much.
Man, I love that. I love that. And you said we were gonna meet earlier this morning, and you said, "Hey, I got a client in," and my mind just starts racing. Like, I wonder what that entails. Like, I show up to Cole's to this barn, or this, what is it called, the corral, and you
The
guys just get
arena,
out. Like, how does it? Yeah, how
yep,
does it
the
work? Like, what
barn.
what do they do?
Well, like today they dropped off 3 new horses. So uh they just brought 3 2-year-olds in to get broke and get started and see if they're gonna make it or not. So
Heck yeah, man.
I was
And
just
then
talking to them and getting to know their horses. And
last question for that. Like, how long does it take to like break them, and then ultimately what product are you giving back the customer when they bring your horses to you?
well, like, it just depends, like, hopefully we have a cutting horse. Like, that's our ultimate goal. But it's like baseball in that way too. It's the highest fail rate in the equine industry. Like, I
Wow.
mean, they don't all make it. It is hard for a horse to make it. But at the end of the day, we want a good broke horse that does whatever anybody wants, and hopefully it cuts. But if it doesn't, they can go to roping or barrel racing, whatever they want to do with it. So,
My
but
goodness.
we've got some that have went on to be big ropers and all that good stuff. So, but at the end of the day, we want to play the game, the cutting game. But it doesn't always work out. It's like baseball, man. The numbers are very minuscule of how many work.
It's crazy that it's like you're obsessed with finding the hardest things in the world
Yes,
to do, and then you go
I told my
become.
wife that the other day. I was like, why can't I just find something that's like easy?
Hey, you know what's crazy is I was listening to First Take today, and it was before getting the kids ready for school, and my wife and I are getting ready, and I hear, oh, it was Get Up, and I heard Rex Ryan talking about the kicker, Justin Tucker. Apparently, he's experiencing the yips right now. He's missed 10 field goals for the Ravens. He's the greatest of all time. But I heard Rex Ryan say, just kick the damn ball. And I'm like, man, Rex, it's not that easy. Like there's a difference between being like on the field and being part of it, and then being on the field in charge of the specialty. And I'm like, the difference in the mindset, you can be like this big, just to think about it. Like sometimes I'm trying to use a comparison, but I'm like, why didn't I become like a safety or something? Why did I have to worry about throwing a baseball? Why can't I just go break passes up or hit somebody? You know what I mean?
Right.
Why did it have to be that? So what is it about the fine things, the hardest things that get you going?
I think it's the how hard it is to do it. Like how hard. I think I'm involved in like the hard work. Like how anything easy it just doesn't get my attention. But when it is difficult, like man, like that's God, that's so satisfying when you do get something good or you finally get there and get it done. There's nothing more satisfying in the world. I've had other jobs and I couldn't take I couldn't stand them. Like it was just, I can't work for just a paycheck. I guess I have to be miserable. So
Yeah, man, there is something to that with that personality. And I'm telling you, it's different, man. I talking with Kole Strayhorn here on the Baseball Forward podcast. Kole, last time we talked, dude, I'm going to say it was, a couple months ago, but, man, I got so much good feedback, like I said, and I got just with your experience and where you've been and the passion that you show for the game of baseball. I just got so many follow-ups, and that's why I wanted to have you on. I feel like you're going to start being a regular contributor with this stuff because of that passion, man. And I wanted to kind of elaborate on some of the previous conversations we had, because man, you gave some really good advice, and one of the most, like, still to the day, I get comments all the time from, man, learning to play catch, like playing catch and making the simple tasks the most important thing. So like, I want to expand on that today. And I want to give you the kind of the platform to talk more about baseball and the application piece of it. So I'll lead with this, Kole, talking with Kole Strayhorn, one of my former teammates, just a good dude. And he's a freaking cowboy too. Tips on playing good catch. So last time we talked, you said, man, your advice to young pitchers was, man, learn how to play catch. I want you to expand on that. And like, when I say tips for playing good catch, what comes to your mind right there, Kole?
well, it's a mindset right from the beginning. And what's so funny is after that first time we had this podcast, a coach had contacted me.
Yes.
And it never even rang in my mind until this guy called me and he said, and I said, well, we were talking about it. I said, tell me your schedule. And he's like, well, they got that. We do this, and that. And I said, man, right there, you're telling your pitchers that it's not that important. And I never even thought about it that way,
Wow.
like, because I'd been out, I've been in pro ball. So we had our time to play catch. But in high school, college, and I'm talking major D1s, I've had guys that I've worked with, and they're like, man, we don't playing catches. We got like 10 minutes.
Wow.
But your hitters don't have 10 minutes.
Wow.
Right. So it, like right there, even from little league on, we're like, hey, this is not that important. Just hurry up, get warm so we can get into the stuff that matters. And like, I understand it's harder like in high school because most of your pitchers are your better athletes. They're, but you have to, like, there's no way you got 12, 15 minutes to play catch and be able to go through your stuff, throw flat ground and say, hey, this is important. So we're bad about putting it that it's not that important right off the bat. So you got 10 minutes to get warm, then we got to get into playing catch, right?
Wow.
And so the day we get to really worry about playing catch is when we're throwing a bullpen that day.
Sure.
But it's like I said, you can work for 2 hours during your bullpen, and it's all out the window the next day when you go and play catch, right?
Wow. Yep.
So, like part of like playing catch, like, man, anybody can do it, especially with younger high school or younger. I think even college should do it. is visuals, because kids get competitive with a visual. You know, like I've had it where I've had PVC pipe right there, like on guys' shoulders, right?
Sure.
Just
Yep.
two. And you stand in there, they don't care about catching that ball outside of here, which we talked last time. If you catch that ball right off outside your shoulder, that's a hit batter, right? So
Yep.
like, but we don't care about it. You put a visual up there and a kid
Wow.
will start getting pissed when he starts, they'll be competitive with themselves.
So
Now all
when
this
you say visual, like the strings, I'm envisioning spring training,
strings,
the
or
string.
like I said, like PVC pipe that you can stick
Okay.
in the ground, or that's cheap
Ooh,
and
I
easy
like
to
that.
make, or you can even make shirts, right? Whatever it
Ooh.
is. But like when they start getting competitive with themselves, now we start putting it in our minds. But like mentally,
Mm.
it's hard for young kids to say, "Hey, I threw it outside his shoulder," and be mad about it. They're like, "Whatever." But you put a visual up there, and all of a sudden, it's like,
Wow.
"Whoa!" Like they start getting like mad about it. They're
Sure.
like, "Dang it." But like the part of the good catch is that right there, just like, "Hey, like I'm good under the chin and not outside of the shoulders,"
Sure.
right? So like that's a small target, right?
Yep.
It's kind of
Yep.
like snipers, like aim small, miss small,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
When you're hunting or whatever. But so that is, like that's going to create what? A
Mm.
constant, consistent delivery. If I can throw it at the same place every time, what am I making? I'm making a great delivery, right? It's
That's right.
consistent. We don't work on it. We don't ever work on that, right?
Do you
So
let me ask you this, because the visual thing is like duh. Because
yeah, duh.
when you watch a baseball game, and I'll watch the games on Major League, and they have the box, and then I always want to say, "Ooh, that ball looked." And I want to see the replay. Did that get in the box? I mean, that's like that's an extension of what you watch on television,
Hmm.
and making it a game in your own practice session.
Absolutely. And especially, and that gets your mind going. Like when you're in professional baseball, you're older, you're more mature, like your life depends on it, right?
Yeah,
That's your
yeah, yeah.
livelihood. So it's easier to get pretty serious about it. But for younger players, I don't even college, I think, man, like you can put that in there and all of a sudden it starts mattering to them. Like it's important because then they get competitive. That's the main thing. They're competitive with themselves and not throwing it outside the lines, right? Like
I love that.
go to the carnival and what do you want to do? You want to throw right in the bullseye to knock the guy in the water, right?
Duh.
So
Yep.
you get pissed when you don't throw it in there.
Yep.
And so, but that, and that's part of it. Like, I believe in playing aggressive catch, like where, so many kids come out there and the first few, like, I mean, dude, they don't even try to throw until they're at like 120 feet.
That's right.
It's like, no, like you need to come out there like 50% from the first throw on, like being aggressive towards your target and throwing out there. And then the biggest thing, so, you know, arm strength is different for everybody, but you'll see these guys that throwing it 300 foot, right? And as they come back in, they're one hopping it,
Yep.
right? And it's like, so I compare our further, like when we're as far as away, our max distance, we're max velocity, correct? Wouldn't you
Correct.
think that?
I would say
Max
that, yes.
velocity, max distance.
Yep.
That's everything. That's the closest we can get to pitching
Yep.
or the intensity wise. Well, like when I have my guys come in, dude, you don't take anything off. Like as
Mm.
they move in, like I want that same effort, that same intensity as you're moving in. And you'll be surprised how many overthrows you'll have because kids they don't reach out front.
Man.
They're not used to doing that. And then you'll move them into 65, 70 feet. And I'm like, hey, same thing. Like, I don't care. Like, I want you to knock them down.
Yes.
And it'll take them 3 or 4 throws to get it. I mean, they might throw 3 or 4, 10 foot over their head because they're not used to doing that. But that's also getting your arm in shape. But it's also, you want to throw harder? Well, work on throwing harder, right? Work on
Man.
the mechanics that you're going to go to the mound with. And those are the mechanics you're going to go to the mound with playing catch, right?
Cole, like, gosh, talking to Kole Strayhorn here on the Baseball Forward podcast. And Cole, I'm like, I can literally feel what you're describing right now. And I think back at any times playing catch, and I'm like, that seems so basic. like on like say when you're coming in from 300 feet and you get to about 75 and you get to 60, and all of a sudden we don't have that same intensity, but then we're supposed to kick it back up when we get out on the mound with that full intensity.
Yes,
those are completely different throws.
Exactly. And so what I'm doing is when your partner moves back in at 65, 70 feet, and you're throwing just like you were at 300, man, you have to have the right mechanics to hit him in the chest, right? Like, so it's not just about that. It's about release point. Well, if only that intense max velocity throw is at 300 feet, well, no wonder why I miss up or I pull off, right? Because I don't work on it.
Go ahead, keep going.
The biggest thing too is like I'd get a lot of kids with lessons like in the middle of summer, right? They're in perfect arm shape, right? I tell their parents, I was like, we won't throw a bullpen the first day. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because your kid won't be able to. And they're like, what do you mean? They're in, best pitching shape. And I'm like, no, they're not. Watch. We'd play that long toss. And dude, when we got done, they were,
wow.
They were done. They're like, I can't throw a bullpen. I was like, I know you can't.
Wow.
And I said, so look at, and so just think about that like in shape, right? So if we only throw at 300 feet with that max velocity, max intensity, we throw 10 throws like that. And then we don't throw like that again until we get on the mound. Then we ask our body to do it 80 to 100 times.
Wow.
Like, how good a shape are you really in?
Yeah.
Right. It's like a marathon runner running sprints. He's not going to work very well. You know what I'm saying?
100%. It's so clear to me.
So basic.
And you know what it makes me think of is, like you hear like the good coaches today. I think of like Gino Auriemma for UConn women's basketball and Saban, and they say, practice fast, practice fast, practice fast, practice to the highest intensity. So when you get in the game, when you're saying that to me, that's the baseball version of playing at the high intensity.
Right. And that's, we don't want to, I'm not saying you have to do that 5 days a week,
Sure.
Like 2 to 3 days a week, especially in the off season, as you're building up. But so I'll put it this way. So we're sitting there, and I won't name the kid because he's a kid that did, like this is what his pitching instructor had taught, because everybody's in lessons today.
Yeah, they are.
I'm helping my one of my best friends that's a head high school baseball coach, and we're average at best.
Okay.
Like we're in 6A, but we shouldn't be in 6A. We don't have the talent to be there, right?
Okay.
We're playing like the number one team in 6A. And I guess it's this kid's turn to throw. He's 93 to 97. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going to eat us alive. We can't hit water if we fell off a boat, right? Well, I'm watching this kid play catch. And this guy's 93, 97. He's big time, right?
Yep,
Big time.
yep.
And he is playing long toss, and he is throwing the ball like over the lights, like up above the lights.
Okay.
And I look at my head coach, and I was like, that is the dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, who would ever teach a kid to throw like this? Like, this is taught. Like, no kid does this, right? And I mean, like, it's like excessive high, right?
I get it.
He's out by the third inning. You want to know why?
Can't throw strikes.
Like our guys, we're overmatched at 90. And
yes.
This guy's 93 to 97. God. And it's just like, hey, don't swing, you'll walk, right?
Yep.
Right? And I was like, but it's like, and then this is what I love the best. Hey, just calm down, play catch with him. Well, I'm always the guy that watches them play catch. And I'm like, he is.
Yeah, that's good freaking point, dude.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he is. That's what he does. And like, I felt so sorry for this kid because someone taught him this. Like, it was something I've never seen in my life. And I was like, I told our coach, I said, he'll be out by the third, fourth inning. Not that I'm a know-it-all, but I was like, dude, that's the release point. I watched him in his bullpen. Guess where he is missing every time?
Up an arm side.
Yeah.
So I was like, do you like in that situation? Because boy, oh boy, that is such gold to listen to you break that down. I've never broken it down that way, but I'm sitting here in my head. That's why I like talking to you. I'm like, duh. Like, why would I ever be making that? My body's never going to do that. What my body's going through to make the throw above the lights, that's never going to happen when I'm on the
Never
mound
going to
competing.
happen.
So what's the point? Is it someone teaches it, or is it someone doesn't stop it from happening?
I think it's both.
Oh,
I think it's both. And there's a lot of people out there making money on lessons
Yeah,
that make it so hard to coach because they're getting paid to tell you a good job, right? And
sure.
that's where I was different. I fired guys. Like if they weren't, I gave them homework from the first lesson. Our first lesson was you got to come back to me being able to do all these balance drills. If you can't, I'm done with you. I ain't got time for you. I got
Wow.
horses to ride. I mean, that's just how it is. It's like because of the basic, like you can go to the best pitching coach in the world, right? It one day a week isn't going to make you a good pitcher. It's what
That's
you're
right.
doing in between all that. What's he telling you to do in between all that? I don't see any of these pitching instructors ever play catch with these guys. They just get them on the mound.
Man, that's a fact.
Man,
That's a
it's
fact.
the mound is the easy part, right? If you're doing everything right, the mound is just easy, right? Because I have everything there. But nobody does think we should teach pitching just like we teach hitting, right? So go ask young kids why they throw on a knee. And how many of them will tell you they have no idea why, right?
99% of them would say, I have
Right?
no.
What I'm trying to get extension, right? Get my chest out over my knee, get full extension. So when I go to my lessons, like which are select few, because most people they just want to get on the mound. I'm like, dude, it might be 5 months before we get on the mound.
Sure. Yep.
But I promise you, when we do get on the mound, it's going to be easy. It's
Yeah.
going to be simple. It'll be
And
the
you'll be
best
ready.
bullpen you ever throw. I
I
said
love
because
that.
if we do things right, it's going to be easy. Well, what's the hardest part about pitching?
Throwing strikes.
Throwing strikes, right? And the older you get, right, the upper levels you get, it's not just about throwing strikes; it's where that strike is.
That's right.
And so like your pitchers should be just like your hitters. Like we have we have front toss, we have all this stuff for hitters, but for pitchers, all we do is play catch and go to the mound. See,
Man.
like where when I do my lessons, man, we're gonna go from playing catch, then we're gonna get on a knee, right? Now check this out. What do we want to do? We want to get on top of the ball, dominate the baseball, right? Get out, good extension on top of the baseball, dominate it, right? So we get on a knee and I make them one hop strikes through the strike zone.
Ooh. One hop strikes through the strike
One
zone
hop,
from one knee.
right?
Okay.
Right. I want them to hit it right in front of the plate and hop right over the middle of the plate.
Okay.
What's that do?
Get
What's
on
that going
top
to
of
make
the
you
forces
get
them
on
to get
top
on
of the
top of the
baseball?
baseball. Just like if I'm trying to get on top
Absolutely.
of the ball when I hit a ground ball to the opposite field,
Right.
whatever it is, right?
Yeah. So it's the same thing. What am I doing? I'm getting a
Interesting.
consistent delivery. I
Mm,
can't do that unless I'm doing this. We can't pitch every day. We can't throw off the mound every day, right? We don't
right.
need to. But we can go do these harmless drills that aren't hard on our arm, right? And so, but you'd be amazed at how many kids, when they first get on their knee, can't throw it on the ground, can't one hop it.
Wow. I freaking
Be-
love that, dude.
You know what I'm saying? So, like,
Yes.
I am so basic, and what I call middle school is some people don't like it. They don't believe in it. They'll like. I've had kids that I fired. They're like, their dad comes with a radar gun. I was like, whoa, you got the wrong dude, man. I could care less how hard you throw. Like,
That's right.
let's throw a four seamer for a strike 6 times in a row, and then let's move on from there.
That
They can't do it.
that right there. Okay, so I want to go into talking with Kole Strayhorn on the Baseball Forward podcast. This is the second time Kole has been on, and you can just tell why. We can tell right now. I'm loving what I'm hearing right now because I know that what we're gonna regurgitate back, the application, like this is usable stuff that everybody can do if they're smart enough to listen. So I want to go from like the how you said you were from one knee doing the one hop skip into the strike zone. Like that kind of leads into like the philosophy of you said at the beginning of this, a lot of it is mentality, and like
Mm-hmm.
you got to have this, you got to have a purpose, you got to have intention when you're pitching. So when you get guys that are ready to get on the mound, and you get guys that are that are comfortable and that are ready to be on the mound, what is the general philosophy you want these guys to follow when they're on the mound and they're in a game, or they're in a bullpen session?
Well, so to feel themselves, to know what they're doing, that the baseball, this is what I tell everybody. The baseball's the best pitching coach in the world. It never
Mm,
lies. It
mm,
never lies. If I'm missing up and in, what am I doing? I'm flying open,
that's right.
right? Like the baseball does not lie. Listen to what the baseball's telling you and make an adjustment pitch by pitch. I want to develop pitchers that are their own coach.
Mm,
So I don't have to go out there and talk to them, or when I do talk to them, we got bases loaded with a 2-0 count, no outs, right? Because we've walked the world. It's
yep.
like, I want you to be able to make adjustments. My pitching lesson, guys, I don't want to see you every week. I want you to be able to feel yourself like we're going to go every week until a certain
Man,
point,
listen to
and you
that.
should be able to come to me bi-weekly, right? What we're doing is we don't teach the right stuff, and we make these kids so dependable on us that they don't feel anything. I want
Wow.
them to learn to feel their body. What you start doing in pro ball? You started learning a lot more about your body because your life depended on it.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? But that's something we can do by all those drills. So like we'll do that one hop drill, and then I'll have them stand up and work on a load one hop, and then I'll put a ball on a tee, and it's probably below knee height, and then they work on their load and try to knock the ball off. You'd be surprised how pissed these guys get when they can't knock the ball off.
Yeah, it's competitive,
But
man.
they don't care when they're missing in a bullpen, right?
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But
Yep.
then they get competitive. But like it's even like, you know, and then the mentality is like, man, we start teaching things like, hey, if I'm gonna throw in, I miss in, right? You can't miss over the plate. Like I'm gonna get on you for that. You
Sure.
throw in, miss in, you throw away, miss away. Teach
Yep.
my body to go there, so there's so many little drills that it makes the pitching easier, you know? But like I said, it all goes back to playing good catch. And we screw the kids right off the bat. You got 10, 12 minutes for it.
Man, that is so, gosh, like, because every kid listening to this, every coach listening to this from the beginning of time knows
Mhm.
exactly that you're right. Knows exactly that what Kole Strayhorn is saying right now is, raise your hand if you've had a coach say, "Hey, let's get going. Let's get going. Hurry up. Hey, hey,
Yep.
let's go. Hey, hey,
Yep.
clean it up. Let's go." And that's a fact. And the reality of it is Cole, I was talking a couple months ago at a practice, and again, I won't mention names, but it was first and third situations, and the kids are too young that they're not even good enough at this point, really, to truly handle the baseball. They don't
Right.
truly play catch the right way. They don't truly catch it, secure it the
Yep.
right way. And we're trying to teach all these tricks, and this.
Hmm.
Oh, it looks good. Who does it look good for? You as the coach, or as the players? Because I know this. You saying this makes me just think so fundamentally to my core as a coach and as a guy that wants to see young men succeed is, if you don't have the very basic stuff down, you are doing yourself a disservice the higher levels you get. I'll speak for myself. Uh, if you do not have the very basic, as a pitcher, if you do not have fastball command and you cannot put it in the quadrants that you want to put it in, and you cannot locate, and you don't have to have you said 6 out of 10, 6 fastballs in a row. Hey, whatever it is, but if you can't command the fastball, why are you pitching? Why are you pitching?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And the very basic of the very basics of playing catch is missed by so much. I want to encourage anybody listening to Kole Strayhorn today on this episode 27 of the Baseball Forward podcast. I want to encourage you to slow the heck down when you're coaching and say, give my kids a chance. to do what they're supposed to do the right way,
Mm-hmm.
the tools the right way. And you know what? If you have to play catch longer than you did rounding the horn with some flash stuff that's never going to happen in a game, okay,
Yeah,
well then maybe
right.
do that, right? What do you think about that, Cole?
I agree 100%. Like, I mean, how many times do you hear it? Let's go. We got to go. We got to go. But
Yep.
yet, how many games do you lose in high school and college from not throwing strikes? And then you want to yell at your pitchers about throwing strikes. And I get it. I'd be mad too.
Yep.
But they can't, it has to be like I tell my guys, you have to be as protective of your delivery as hitters are their swing.
Dang.
And we're
Dang.
not. We're not. We're not at all. We're not even close. Now, at the major league level, you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's just a mindset. That's not a talent thing. But that's because how you play, you have flat ground every day in pro ball, do you or do you not?
You absolutely
Right?
do.
And it becomes very important to you when you're throwing your flat ground. Well, how many colleges? I'm talking big D1 and definitely high school. I never see it. No
Wow.
one's throwing flat ground. And that was a part, that was my day. Like, hey, this is my deal. You should have drills for your pitchers every single day to go through their mechanics, right? Whether
Yep.
it's the towel drill, shadows, whatever it may be. It doesn't have to take an hour, right? But we should do something that keep, just like we take BP every day. Why would my pitchers not work through their drills every day?
You know
It's
what?
somebody else can shag. I promise you.
Agree. And especially with all the money out there in baseball these days, hire somebody. But I'll
Yeah.
say this. Like thinking about playing flat ground and throwing flat ground. One, I want to say Jose Diaz. I used to have to catch that dude in flat ground. And I wish I had a baseball with me, but he'd hold the baseball up and he'd be holding it with like one finger. I'd be like, please, no. But I'm like, because I knew it was coming. I knew it was coming for my shins or it was coming for my lips.
Right.
But I want to say this about the flat ground stuff is that was my time as somebody who we all know what a struggle the game of baseball is. But throwing flat ground was my time mentally to really not feel pressure. It was my time to take as much time as I wanted to feel good about myself, to feel, and what you said earlier, man, I felt it. Oh, okay. Hey, I'm leaking up with my glove side. Hey, I'm a little bit, I'm up an arm side with my two seamer. My curveball is a little bit, it's feeling your way through it so that you feel so good. And if you're listening to this, I want you to have like the courage and the freedom to don't stop playing catch until you feel good about it. And that's what that stuff is for. It's for feel and don't rush through it, because for me, Cole, we would go out on those hot Georgia days in those South Georgia waves. Cotton. Why did we have cotton t-shirts back then? It's like, what the heck? But that was my time to go be whoever I wanted to be and to be and to feel what I wanted to feel, to go through the emotions that I wanted to go through, to experiment. Add on to that.
Yeah. So here's what every day, like, so when I learned this, like when I really figured out playing catch, it was actually something I could not wait to get to the ballpark to do.
Man.
And I tell you that with 100% honesty. I mean, I
Yep.
remember a teammate of mine with the Mets, like, dude, if we threw one over, it was like, whoa, when was the last time we like overthrew each other? Like,
Wow.
but it was something I really could not wait to get, because I could feel the improvement.
Yes.
Like I could, man, it was like hitting. That's your craft. If you're a pitcher and you don't want to go play catch, like you should not be a pitcher.
That's right.
Because that is your craft. Every time you shouldn't even throw a baseball bad when you're shagging. It takes 2 extra seconds to throw it correctly.
That's right.
Because you wouldn't take, how many times do hitters get in trouble if there's, especially young hitters, being stupid in the on deck circle? I know your dad probably got in your butt. I know mine did. I'd be uppercutting next. You go up there, what do you do? Boom. We get
That's
in
what you were
trouble
doing on deck.
Yeah, but you see the guy playing catch like an idiot, not caring, but nobody says nothing because we don't put that as pitching.
Oh,
But it is. That's everything we do. So, but just think if you had a routine, even in pro ball, because it was just play catch and do flat ground and it was over. But what if we had like all these drills to go to work up to like a towel drill? Like a towel drill would be my last one. That'd be the
Mm-hmm.
one when you're done. But we get on a knee, bounce that thing in there. Now knock the tee off, knock the ball off the tee, work on my load, knock the ball off the tee. Now I finish with 10 max effort towel drills and I'm done. And we
Mm,
do this 3-4 days a week. How much confidence is there because you're doing it every day?
that's
Go
right.
ask a hitter to only hit once a week and see how confident he is.
Ooh,
You know
boy.
what I'm saying? But
Yep.
it's just basic, man. There's nothing special. It's just basic stuff.
You know what? And the older I get, and I'm sure you will say the same, the older I get as it relates just to life in general. And this is I hope so badly that younger men that love the game of baseball, that want to be good at it, I hope they understand that like the older I get, the more I realize that it's the guys that show up every day. It's the
Yeah.
guys that show up every day that have a plan every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think
That
about
is
this.
that's it. Having a
It
plan.
man, and it's like you it's not easy all the time. It's emotional sometimes, but it's sometimes it is easy. Sometimes it's an absolute most of the time it was an absolute blast. But it's the guys that show up and the guys that are consistent, but they have a plan. And I'm guessing that just in your life as is business, I mean, I would be willing to say this: your best experiences as a baseball player was when you, like you just said, you showed up to the park ready to go, knowing what you were going to work on that day. When are your best days at work, Cole?
When I have a routine, I have a plan to attack.
That's
And,
it.
and that goes into this. Pitching. So your bullpen or your day that day you pitch that game, whether you're reliever or starter, that's kind of like a test, right? So I take that. So like a test in school, right? It tells me what I need to work on playing catch before
Mm,
my next outing. So if I'm not able to put the ball on the inside part of the plate, well, that's what I go attack playing catch,
that's
right?
right.
Not just because you had a good outing, you have to judge it if I'm in the state championship game, right?
Golly.
Or I'm in the World Series. Do these guys miss this? No, they don't. So I have to judge myself on the highest level of wherever I'm at. If I'm in Division One, we're in Omaha. Does that team miss this pitch? Yeah, I
Mm,
blew it by this guy, but does the 3-hole miss that? No, he doesn't. So, hey, I had a great outing, but man, I was having trouble, you know, locating this certain pitch. And then so, man, now I go work on it. Right? That gives me like, hey, that keeps my mechanics sound. And that's how I don't get into a big mechanical failure and where you got the yips because each day, every time it's something to go work on.
you man, you are. It's so you're not competing against everybody else when you have that mindset. It is literally you. And when you have the ability to be objective with yourself, not too hard on yourself, because I think you and I both would admit we
Yeah,
probably are a
right.
little too hard on
We're a
ourselves,
little
right?
too we're a little
Yeah,
too critical.
yeah. But to have the objective ability to evaluate yourself and not grade yourself on your ERA or your MPH, like, and I get it. Sometimes that stuff is necessary, but it's not grading yourself on a stat book or a stat line. It's grading yourself on the things that you just said. Would the 3-hole hitter on that team that we're playing tomorrow, would he have got to that pitch? Was that in a good spot? Did I get away with it? Am I being lazy? And if you have that ability to objectively evaluate yourself, does anyone come to your mind, like anyone that you admire, that you watched, that you kind of learned from, that you grew from, that you just observed? Does anybody come to mind when you say, man, they had a really good ability to just slow themselves down and be honest with themselves as much as possible?
But I mean, this is cliche, but all the greats, what
Yeah.
what the greats do different than the other guys? Like a Jacob DeGrom comes to mind, right?
Mm,
How many guys throw 100 now? A bunch.
yep.
So why are they not all as special as Jacob DeGrom?
Wow.
Right? It's
Yep.
because he can put it where he wants it. And they say like his playing catch and his bullpens are like top notch intensity. Like, that's the difference. We always talk about like the hitters and stuff like this, like, man, their work ethic and the weight room, blah, blah, blah. But the pitchers, the Greg Maddoxes, the John Smoltz, like those guys, Jacob DeGrom, man, like Jacob DeGrom can feel everything, but it's because of the way they have a routine. They go through it every single day. Like I remember Clayton Kershaw in the last World Series, he was down there 2 hours, 3 hours before the game doing shadow drills. This is a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the most dominant pitchers in the regular season we'll ever see. And he's out there doing what? Basic shadow drills. That's the difference. That's the difference between the greats and the other guys. It's work ethic. It's a plan. It's a plan of attack. It's a routine. They're working on their craft every day, and they take it. There is no break. They take it serious every single day. That's the big thing. That takes no talent.
You're right. You're right. And it's so commonly missed from so many people. You know what? Because here's what I think why, Cole. I think too many people get overly emotional, good or bad. So you said something earlier. You said, hey, I got the strikeout. I feel good about myself. Well, is that going to be a strikeout tomorrow with that pitch? But they get too overly excited about themselves, or they get too negative about themselves.
Yeah.
And then they can't truly evaluate their performance on what really needs to work on. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest compliments I got from Kenny Howe. Is I think I struck out the side, and in a save situation, like it was a good. It was great, right? But it was also 7-8-9, right? And I came in there and I was a little peeved after the game, and he said, "What'd you think?" And I said, "I think if that was 3, 4, and 5, it might have been a different story."
Wow.
He goes, "Now you're growing."
Man,
and it was. He's like, "Now you're growing. Now you're maturing." And it was because I knew I got away with some stuff with velo, right? Because I was facing the lower part of the lineup. But was I happy about the result? Absolutely. You take a win when you can get it. You take a great outing when you have it. But you can't put your head in the sand because you had good results. You got to say, "Hey, man, I struggled getting this pitch over. And that's not going to get me to the big leagues, or that's not going to get me to the state finals, or like I got to be better." And it's something to work on. You're happy. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I went home pissed.
Sure.
But I went to the park with a plan the next day, though. A plan of attack on my, whether it was my curveball or whatever. Like, guess what? If your curveball's not very good, it's usually a release point thing. And your fastball is like, how am I going to fix my release point? Fastball, right? Like, hey, man, just go do basic drills.
I will never forget this. When I got into pro ball, I was starting to struggle with feel, like coming out of my senior year into my first year in pro ball, and I got assigned to Great Falls, rookie in Great Falls, Montana. That place was legit. I don't know if you were ever there or not, but but Great Falls, and it was so. I remember we had a scrimmage, or like an exhibition in Great Falls. There was like 2,500 people there. And we were playing against like some all Montana Legion crap, whatever. And I came in like the 8th inning, but I felt so good. I gave up a run. I gave up the only run of the game to some 18-year-olds, right? I'm 22 at the time, but my velo was good. I felt good about myself, my location. And I remember coming off the field that day, and I remember just being like, I don't care what the results were, because I felt so good about how it came out and how everything felt just dialed in.
So
and
I'm like, give me a story about this.
Hit me with it. Hit me with it. Hit me with it, dude.
So we're playing the Cardinals in the Florida State League, right?
Okay.
And
so this is high A.
High A ball, right?
Yep.
And they're like the worst team in the league. Like, worst team. Scott Kashmir just started, went like 7, and perfect setup for a save, right? Like, dude, I come in and like, dude, I feel phenomenal. I was warming up, and I didn't care. Like, I was warming up at 97. And I mean, dude, I'm so
Woo-wee.
like, it is gas.
It is gas,
And
boys. I've
like
seen it. It was gas.
the first two pitches, man, like right on the bike, bam, bam,
Oh,
got two outs. Like I was like, oh, fuck, this is easy, dude. I didn't record another out.
oh, no way.
No way, did not record another out. And I'm like, what in the hell just happened here? Like, I mean, it went from like just carving to
Yep.
like, I was like, oh my, and I couldn't, I mean, curveball, snapdragon, just wham.
Really?
And just, dude, every ball they hit, like, I've never seen balls hit that hard in my life.
Really?
It sounded like a shooting range. And I'm like, what in the world? I finally get pulled and I am so mad. I'm sitting there. And Dan Worthen, one of the best pitching coaches I ever had, he was with the Mets when they went to the World Series with all those young pitchers they had with DeGrom and Thor and all those
Yep.
guys.
Yep.
Dude, he was unbelievable. And he starts laughing at me. And I'm like, and now I'm even madder. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
There's some words in there, but I'm like, what do you think's so funny?
Yeah.
He goes, I think it's one of your best outings.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he goes, some days it just ain't your day. He goes,
Yes.
but like our catcher came in there, he's like, I have no idea how they hit that. He was on the black. His curveball was unbelievable. Like that's some of the best he's ever thrown.
That's
And
crazy.
and he told me that. And finally, after a little bit, like I was like, you know what? Like I felt great. Like I mean, I couldn't have felt any better. It might have been the
Oh,
best feeling
dude.
I had, but I threw well. Some
Yep.
days it just ain't your day.
That's right.
You know
That's
what I'm
right.
saying? Like, so, but it was awesome of him to start laughing at me because I could have taken that too negative and then it rolled into two or three outings instead. Like, I was like, hey, sometimes you got to give the hitters credit,
And you know what, though? You know what, Cole? This is what you said earlier. And in talking with Kole Strayhorn on the Baseball Forward podcast, you said this earlier. Be your best. You should be your best coach. You should feel your way. And like, if I come up to you and I'm the pitching coach after an outing and I say, "Did you execute your pitches? Did you execute your locations? Would your MPH differentials where you want them to be?" If you're saying yes to all that stuff and you still get hit, it is what it is. That's baseball. It's competition. They're trying to hit you too. But you said it, and you said, like, if you have to be your best coach. I want you to finish this podcast up with tell me what it feels like from your perspective to be the best coach of yourself. What does that feel like?
I think it's the ultimate confidence that you know your body, you know your feel, and you from pitch to pitch, you're making an adjustment. You're not panicked. You're
Ooh.
never panicked. It's just like, hey, that ball was up. I was this. Like, hey, you know what? My balance probably is a little bit. Hey, make sure you slow down. And then the next pitch, boom, there it is. It's you're in the ultimate zone,
Yes.
right? Because you're able to make adjustments. You're not feeling for anything. You know it. And that's what I tell guys. Like when you can't coach yourself, you're throwing and hoping.
Yes.
And how many times have we been in those situations? I mean, more than enough.
That's right.
Like I'm throwing it and I hope it gets there because I can't feel nothing. Right.
Yep.
I don't feel why it's going wrong. Right. And so you throw and hope, and it usually doesn't go very good then. But when you put in the work, not just for one day, but month after month, day after day, every single day, you put in that work, being on that mound is kind of the easy thing because
Wow.
it's like Deion Sanders, like you said, practice. Like Deion Sanders said when he practiced, he wanted to be on the number one receiver, and he goes, "Man, we just happen to have one of the best receivers in the NFL." He goes, "So game time was easy," and I think there's a lot to say to that if you practice hard and you work hard, that the games are just easy. Like the going through it. It's never easy, but you're not sitting there thinking about your mechanics.
Sure.
You're not sitting there feeling it, feeling for it. You just know. And then when you have a bad out, it's gonna happen. It's baseball, right? Whether you're a hitter,
Right.
pitcher, whatever. Baseball is the most humbling sport in the world. Like
Fact.
I don't care how good you are. You will be humbled at some point in time. It's coming, so be ready for it.
That's right.
But you get to the great thing about our game is man, you get to go work on it the next day. You don't
Yes,
have to,
sir.
that was the worst thing about being a starting pitcher. I wasn't wired for a start. I mean, like I have a bad outing, I got to sit on this for 5 days. Are you
Yep.
kidding me?
Yep.
That was the great thing. That's why they moved me to the bullpen, and they said that your mentality fits it
Yep.
because I couldn't handle the bad outing and waiting 5 days. Like my anxiety was through
Give
the
me the
roof.
ball and let's go.
I'm like, hey, I'll come out of the pen tomorrow. I just need to get a hitter out.
And
End on a
that's
good
beautiful,
note.
though. That's beautiful. That's what's
Absolutely.
beautiful about baseball. That's what's beautiful about, like, you can be obsessed. Even if you have a bad outing, you have tomorrow and you have all the time in the world to work through what you want to work through and work through what you want to feel. And if you're listening to this out there, for you young players that are listening to this out there, take the time. You're worth it. Work through the feelings, the emotions, the physical stuff that you have to work through so that when you leave the park today, you feel good about the effort that you feel the way that good about the way the ball came out of your hand. You didn't rush yourself. You feel confident, because if you go home and you leave the park with confidence, no matter what the results were, you're setting yourself up for success.
Absolutely.
Kole Strayhorn, like, dude, I want you guys to know this. Kole is going to start becoming more regular here, and it's coming. It is coming, Kole. You're one of the popular guys. You're one of the favorites, which doesn't surprise me one bit, because gosh, the passion. I want to go. I want to go ride horses. I want to go throw 97 right now. I want to do all of it. So Kole, I want to give us some final words, and then I'll take us out, my friend.
Man, just the basics. If you can perfect the basics, everything is going to be simplified for you, and success is going to come at easier. But I'll tell you, my number one thing I say to everybody: well, I don't care whether you're a hitter, whatever you are. The most powerful thing you can do as a baseball player is know your limitations. If you know your limitations, if you don't throw 95, why are you overthrowing? If you're not a power hitter, why are you overswinging? If you know, that's what makes the greats great, right? It's gosh, I've just forgot his name for the San Diego, the closer.
Yeah, I know.
Hoffman.
Yep.
Hoffman.
Trevor Hoffman.
He was still getting 40 saves a year, throwing 86.
Yep.
Why? Because he said, I know I don't throw 95 anymore, but I have the best changeup in baseball. All I got to do is sink it and locate it.
That's right.
And I got you. But know your limitations. If you know your limitations, it's the most powerful thing you can do as a baseball player, in my mind.
Thanks again to Kole Strayhorn for joining us on the show, and a big thank you for listening to this episode of the Baseball Forward podcast.
And tell your hitters about Chase Lambin.
Chase,
the hittershandbook.com. Unbelievable.
It's coming. Hittershandbook.com. Chase Lambin. We'll get him on the podcast. But Kole, I want to say thank you to you for joining us on the show today. And I'm your host, Ross Hawley, and I will see you next time. See you, Kole.
See you, buddy.